Hey everyone, I'm Matt FF Dynasty on Twitter, and you're listening to the Dynasty Hotseat.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hotseat, the only Dynasty show out there that's a certified inferno. And today, right beside me here, we have got one of the biggest names in the UK Dynasty fantasy football scene. We've got Matt from the Fantasy Wildcard crew. You can catch him over at the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast, one of the best podcasts out there, certainly one of my own personal favorites. You can catch him over doing a bit of work for the Fantasy Football Astronauts as well, and you can find him on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. How are you keeping?
Absolutely brilliant, Con. Honestly, when you invited me to come on this show, I've been thinking about it for at least the past 2 weeks. Obviously, I've had my co-host Kev on, and I've got to show Kev how it's done. I mean, Kev did smash it. Let's be honest with his draft, but yeah, doing really well and looking forward to doing this mock draft.
Do you know one thing he didn't do?
What's that?
He did not pick Michael Carter, and he had the chance.
He did. I know. I had some stern words with Kev after that. I was not too impressed.
Matt's obviously here to give us his hints and tips and draft an amazing team, which I'm sure he'll do. And, if you listen to the episode with Kev on as well, just a few days ago, you'll also know about the Wildcard boys are putting on a bit of a charity streamathon for the Minds charity. So, Matt, do you want to tell us a wee bit about that?
Yeah, so last year we did the first streamathon. We get some brilliant guests on, 16 hours of streaming, talking all about Dynasty football, going through every team in the NFL and what's been going on during the off season, looking ahead to the regular season. And we thought it went so well last year that we're bringing it back, doing it again this year. 21st of May is when it drops. As I say, 16 hours of streaming and getting some brilliant guests on to talk, and obviously doing it for a great cause in mind, which is to help support people that are suffering with mental health issues. So yeah, a charity that's close to mine, Kevin and Ali's heart, and a lot of people with everything that's been going on in the recent times, the last couple of years with COVID and everything. So just happy to help in any way that we can, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant cause, brilliant charity, and head over to the Fantasy Wildcard Twitter page now, and you'll see that the donations are open. I think opened up yesterday. And you can pop in there and leave as much or as little as you want, because every bit goes towards a brilliant cause.
Absolutely.
All right, so Matt, let's kick things off with the cooler segment of the show. We're not quite fully in the hot seat yet. We're in section 1, the art of words. It's your hints and tips for Dynasty players, young and old, or anything in between.
Yeah, so like I've said, you've had some brilliant guests on. They've come up with some fantastic tips, things like checking the scoring and things like that. They're all key things. But I thought I'd try and think of maybe a few things that have not been said yet. So I'm going to kick things off. Obviously, I think the natural progression when you go into Dynasty, you're usually coming over from redraft. I think that's the way a lot of people get into playing fantasy football, starting with the redraft, and then they crave that little bit extra, wanting to play it all year round. So move over to Dynasty. And I think in recent years, Superflex has become more popular than ever. I know when I first started, it was more 1 QB, and then had to make that transition over to Superflex. So I think with both of those things in mind, and the thing that I learned quite early is just don't play QB chicken when it comes to your draft. Just don't take that risk and think you can wait a long time. I know, like I say, if you come over from redraft, maybe you're not as worried about having that stellar quarterback. You don't mind waiting a little bit for a quarterback. But when it comes to Dynasty, I think in Superflex, you've got to take an elite quarterback when possible early on, maybe in the first couple of rounds at the latest. So, that'd be my first tip. I just think you want to lock in that long-term asset. If you look back over previous years, quarterback seems to be the one position that seems to hold fairly true. When you take one of those top guys, it's not very often that you see him drop down the board. Maybe the only guy I can think of Baker Mayfield as the one that would stand out as an anomaly. But apart from that, you tend to find those quarterbacks that stay up there. And then just thinking to when you then get into your league, if you don't take one of these top quarterbacks, it's tough for you to get a really stable quarterback. If maybe you just take the one quarterback or maybe two, but your second quarterback's not strong, you just try and get a quarterback without offering up a quarterback to get even improvement to that quarterback. It's really tough. So yeah, that'd be my main tip, I think, is just don't take the chance and wait too long. I know I did it when I first started playing Superflex, and trust me, that league, it was a nightmare all year long trying to deal with that quarterback situation.
Yeah, I think that is really solid advice, especially you're right for Superflex. I always think, even it's generally a lot of people play like on Sleeper. Most people I know are Sleeper. I think every one of my leagues is on Sleeper, and you have your big list. You got your ADP list. That means nothing to do when it's quarterbacks, because the first thing people are going to do is press that filter just quarterback button, and they don't care where that lies. Like, you may think, oh, I can wait and I'll get Derek Carr like when it comes all the way around, because I'm scrolling for ages and I'm not seeing him. But people are going to hit that filter by position. They're going to see Derek Carr and they're going to take him. It doesn't matter who's ahead of him. So absolutely. I think, and also sleeper ADP is a bit funny sometimes. I think it's not always linked fully to Superflex. Sometimes quarterbacks do get pushed down a bit. So if you want a quarterback, take the quarterback whenever you get the chance.
I mean, if you're in one QB, obviously it's completely different. If anything, it's probably the opposite. You want to fade quarterbacks. It's not really a key part, but as I say, in Superflex, you're going to struggle if you don't get two quarterbacks, and ideally you want three. Then you're going to have a lot of sleepless nights.
Yeah, completely agree. So, well, brilliant first tip. What you got for us for your second tip?
Yeah, so the second one that I've gone for, it kind of leads on nicely to, I think Kev kind of mentioned it when he talked about the cycle of when it comes to draft picks and their value. But my tip on the whole is just understanding what you can do with these rookie picks and what value they actually have. Because I know when people come into Dynasty, they see, oh, we've got these future picks. They maybe don't really know too much about future players, and they just see it as something free because you get them every year. You get your rookie picks added to your roster and think, oh, this is a nice free thing to maybe improve my roster. And yeah, you definitely want to do that, but you just need to understand the value of them and know that, like Kev pointed out when he was on, that there's a cycle where the values fluctuate. So during the season, these rookie picks, they become less valuable. Really, people are moving them on to get the players that are performing well in the season, and then during the off season you're going to struggle to get those rookie picks. But then you can then apply it to what you're doing in terms of your league. If you're looking to rebuild, I think rookie picks they're the key thing that you want to be grabbing when you're rebuilding, because they are the only asset in Dynasty football that's guaranteed to improve in value. So whenever you get these rookie picks, say you're looking at 2023 rookie picks, even go as far as 2024 rookie picks. Obviously the 2024, you have a little bit less value on them because you've got to wait, but you can guarantee that once you get a year in advance, 2 years in advance, they're going to gain value. So just understanding that these rookie picks, they're the most stable asset, I think, in Dynasty, and use that to your advantage depending on what you're doing with your roster. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. That's the sort of one of the things I've always said is every pick will eventually, turn into a player. That will become hugely valuable. And, you got to be, really smart with your rookie picks, because there's definitely a sweet spot as well, right? So some people are like, oh, I can't give you a first for like, let's say, I don't know, like Antonio Gibson. Say somebody wanted like a first plus for Antonio Gibson, like, oh, I'll never give up a first for that. But you have to remember, if you're getting a player coming the other way, that first has to be as good, if not better, than Antonio Gibson. So you don't want to push it too far, but you don't want to, like you said, undervalue it. So there is that rookie sweet spot. And for me in Dynasty, this has kind of come with with experience and with myself and yourself, and probably everyone listening to this is at an advantage, because we listen to podcasts and we listen to like content all about this, whereas like your average the average player might not do that. So, use that experience you've got as well to your advantage.
Yeah, and then the plus thing is you don't even have to use that rookie pick. So it's not like because you've got those rookie picks, I've got to then pick a rookie. I mean, move those picks on if you're not happy with what you're looking at on your draft board when it comes around to your rookie draft. Then if there's somebody that wants that rookie pick, then feel free to move it on, whether it be for another maybe a future rookie pick or taking a player that you quite like for the upcoming season, or as maybe an asset that might have lost a bit of value, but you feel like can improve over the next year, then do that. You're not forced to use that rookie pick, but just take advantage of the fact that you're getting value from them.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, actually, this sort of coming up now, I suppose, right? It's this 22 class for, a while, people have said it's not a great class. And, like now looking at it now, there is obviously, that huge, like sort of like Breece Hall, like this, like shining light in this class. Everyone else is pretty good. But by all accounts, the next year, the 23 class, that's where the money's at. Yeah. So every time I got a chance, if I was getting the first round pick for someone, I would be like, give me that 23 first, not the 22 first. And everyone would be like, oh, yeah, like thinking they're winning the deal. But actually, because that class a little bit better, you're ahead of the game a little bit. So
that's it. Yeah, you see it every year. You see it every year, Mags, where people, even if they don't like the class, as soon as you start seeing the combine and these players performing well, and you start hearing that rumble of players that are getting a lot of interest, obviously Breece Hall, like touched upon, take advantage of that. I mean, it happens every year, no matter what people say about the class. As soon as you get close to the NFL draft, you start finding a bit of hype about the upcoming class.
I'm falling for it right now with Christian Watson.
Me too.
I can't help myself.
I do it every year. I remember I tweeted about it saying, to be honest, I'm not super excited about this draft class. But then once you start seeing all these players, you start finding your favorite sleepers and you think, oh, I like this guy that I can get a little later on. And before you know it, you've got that rookie fever.
And I'm desperate to buy the 1-1 in my home league as well. So Ben, if you're listening, you need to give me that so I can get Breece Hall and let's move on from there. Love that as your second tip. So you got one more tip for us, Matt?
I do, yeah. It kind of leads on a little bit to what I just touched upon with the rookie picks, and it's if you are a rebuilding team in Dynasty. The one thing that I've found, and I think it seems to stand true. I know that when I've done rebuilds, it's something I've used and it works well. That running back, that should be the last position that you address when it comes to doing your rebuild, because as we know, when it comes to running back, they're the most volatile position in fantasy football. The values are crazy. A little bit like I spoke about at the start, just looking back to previous drafts that I've done. I remember looking back to a draft that I did only like 3 years ago, I think, and you just look at that. Todd Gurley went 101 when it was a one QB league. David Johnson, all these running backs.
Wow.
There's just so much risk when it comes to running back, and as I say, it's such a volatile position that when you're rebuilding, that's the last position you want to address. Secure those wide receivers early, because they're the ones that tend to hold the value. Get the quarterbacks when possible in Superflex leagues. Use your rookie picks to get those quarterbacks, and same with tight end. But then, as I say, running backs, it's the last position you want to address, just because it changes so much year to year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's Rich at the Dynasty Nerds. They always push like that hashtag 2 to 3 year windows. What they always say is like, because these guys, you're right. Like Todd Gurley isn't even in the league anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
And he is like a prime example of, you need to be like just so careful with these running backs. Like even like, we might think it's impossible now, but I suppose people were saying it then. Like if you told the person that took Todd Gurley first, be like, in 3 years' time, not even in 3, he wasn't even last year, in 2 years' time, he's not going to be in the league, they would think that's impossible.
Absolutely.
And it could be happening right now with Christian McCaffrey. Like
perfect example. I'd say he was obviously going, even in Superflex leagues, he was like 101, 102 in Superflex leagues. And you look this year, I've done a couple of startups this off season, is down in mid-second, getting on towards the late second. So as I say, there's just a lot of volatileness in when it comes to the running back position. And as I say, that's just probably the one position that you should be happy to wait on. Don't feel the need to go and get these running backs early, because too much can happen. And if you are getting running backs, go for these younger guys, because once they get towards the end of that rookie contract, that's when things start to get a little bit messier.
Yeah, you're right. You should definitely just take Michael Carter as your RB1.
Yeah, this is it. I've just preached all this, and now I'm going to take the 101 Mags, and I'm going to take Michael Carter, please.
I love it. Well, we just sort of talked about it. We're ready now to put you in the hot seat, Matt, for our mock draft. How you feeling? How's that seat feeling?
It's not feeling too bad. I'm feeling something going on down here, but I don't know if it's the warmth of the seat or just my excitement for this rookie draft. For this mock draft. But...
Well, let's find out right now as we put Matt into the hot seat coming right up. Yes, everyone, and welcome back to part 2, which is the meat of the show. We've got Matt sitting now firmly in the hot seat, and we've got his mock draft sort of ready to go. We've got our 12-team, 18-round Superflex draft. And Matt, just like everybody else, in an ideal world, if you were to choose your starting position, what would you go for?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because I kind of want to go contrarian. I think everybody seemed to go for that top 3 pick because we know that I think everyone's really got a top 3 when it comes to quarterback. Yeah. And yeah, I wanted to maybe spice it up a little bit and go a little different, but I think I'm going to stick true and take that 103 spot because, as I say, it just feels like the sweet spot. I mean, when it comes to doing your startups, you don't always get the dream spot that you want, and you have to adjust your draft to that. But yeah, I think seeing as you give him the choice, Mags, the nice guy that you are, I'm going to take that 3 spot.
103, certainly a great slot. I think it's might have even been our friend Ali tweet out today. Is like, is there anything worse than the 104 in Dynasty startups right now? It's like, yeah, it's pretty dicey actually. So yeah, you're just outside that sweet spot. So let's get you in 103, which seems to be the consensus ideal slot. So we're open for one of those 3 top quarterbacks. So let's start the draft, and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes come off the board, and sitting right at the top is Justin Herbert, who
no surprises here, Mags. I'm not going to throw a curveball and say Michael Carter like I hinted to it at the start. But, it's got to be Justin Herbert. I mean, he's the one that stands out. I've actually moved him up. He's gone up to my QB2, so more than happy to get him here. I've moved Patrick Mahomes down, obviously, with the recent Tyreek Hill trade. But yeah, Justin Herbert, rock solid. I mean, came in as a rookie. Nobody expected what he put up, the numbers that he put up in terms of fantasy. Backed it up again this season just gone. Got a really solid offense. The weapons that he's got, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Michael Williams, they're just really solid. So yeah, Justin Herbert, quite an easy one and starting off, not really spicy to start, but a rock solid start. And going back to the tip that I gave at the start, just locking in that elite quarterback in a Superflex league.
Yeah, absolutely. So now you're already, you've got your top of your team is Justin Herbert every week. You don't need to worry about it unless he's on a bye, and let's get him. And you can see right away, like Joe Burrow is going at 1-5 there as the next quarterback off the board. And like Joe Burrow, obviously an excellent quarterback, but there is a gulf between Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's that top 3 for me, I think. And then beyond that, I'm probably looking more at Lamar Jackson just because I like that rushing upside that Jackson's got. But yeah, it's night and day when it comes to those quarterbacks. And as I say, if there was one that I was going to maybe put into that top 3, it's Lamar.
Yeah, absolutely. And, speaking of quarterbacks with rushing upside, Deshaun Watson is sitting at the top. No real news yet about, how much of the season he's going to miss. But, actually, I see a lot of like people online, especially saying that, Deshaun Watson might miss 6 games, that might push him down. I'm like, this is Dynasty. You're talking, he's going to play for another 10 games, or 10 years. Sorry, not 10 games. He's going to play for another 10 years. 6 games is a drop in the ocean. So that's, in my opinion, but there's absolutely no reason to move him down a Dynasty ranking at all because he might miss a few games.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm kind of cheating because I would probably take Deshaun Watson, but I just feel like his ADP, I don't think you're going to get him around this spot, to be honest, when it comes to the upcoming, when you're doing your startups in the upcoming time. I mean, I've seen him go in early second, even late first. So I'm going to try and not cheat. I know Kev kind of did the same thing. He didn't want to go for the obvious one. So I'm going to pretend that I can't see Deshaun Watson there, but I will put it out there that if I could get there, that's perfect. Just so the temptation's not there for him, Mags. That's absolutely perfect. So Yeah, and now when I'm looking at what we've got left, I mean, I've got that elite quarterback. I could maybe go quarterback again. Trevor Lawrence, a guy that I think can bounce back. Justin Fields, another guy that I really like. It all comes down to the decisions you make, I guess, when it comes to your startups. Kyle Pitts is one that I would again. I absolutely love Kyle Pitts. I've not got him in any leagues. I know Kev said the same thing. I'm exactly the same. I don't have Kyle Pitts in any league. So, I mean, that's tempting. And yeah, I think I'm gonna lock in Kyle Pitts. I think there's concerns obviously with the situation that's going over on it at the Falcons, moving on from Matt Ryan, but I just think when you can get an elite tight end like that in Kyle Pitts, and in terms of dynasty, he's a guy that's I think he's gonna hold that value for years and years, even if it doesn't perform early on, and I don't think it will. But that's the usual thing you expect with these young tight ends. Usually you're waiting 3 years anyway for him to even start breaking out. So the fact that we've seen what we saw from Kyle Pitts last year, and the fact that he only got that one touchdown, the fact that you can get him here. I'm going to take Kyle Pitts, Mags, and I'm going to be happy. That's my only share, and I'm more than happy to get him in this mock draft.
Awesome. Let's get Kyle Pitts locked in now. Obviously playing with our podcast's favorite quarterback, Marcus Mariota as well. So
that's the unlocking of Kyle Pitts. That's what Kev will tell you anyway.
Yeah. You know what? It might well be. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's security blanket over the middle for him. It could work out well.
Absolutely. We got a little run of running backs there with Eckler and Cook, and the Kamara, Dalvin Cook going quite high still, actually, a bit higher than I would take him, I think. But let's see where we are now at the start of the third round. You got Trevor Lawrence up there, Nick Chubb, and DK Metcalf, along with a bit of an embarrassment of riches, at the minute in the third round.
Yeah, I'm a little bit upset. I'd like Austin Eckler there, maybe connecting with the quarterback that I've got in here, but that would be nice to have those two guys linked together. But I think now I'm going to stick to my tip, as I said at the start, and quarterbacks. I'm looking at quarterback now. I don't want to take no chances. I mean, I know I can maybe get a secure quarterback later on, but this is dynasty, and as I say, it's always tough to get those elite quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, I think it's the two that I'm looking at. I know that you've had some great guests on that have told you about. You don't need to go young when it comes to quarterbacks. You can get guys like a little bit further down the board there. Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford. These are guys that have still got maybe 5 years left in both for these guys that can produce those elite numbers. But a guy that I'm really starting to warm to this past off season, a guy that maybe last year I wasn't as high on, but Justin Fields is a guy that I'm really excited about this year. I know that maybe the Bears aren't making the moves that you'd like them to make, obviously letting Allen Robinson go. Not really bringing anyone of great note into Chicago as well is a bit of a concern. But when it comes to the quarterback position, I've got a soft spot for these guys that can run with the ball. And Justin Fields, he showed it last season that when he gets into open space, he can make people miss, and that excites when it comes to fantasy football. And as well, he's a good passer of the ball as well. So yeah, I think Justin Fields, I'm happy to lock him in there, get my two quarterbacks locked in, and hopefully then we can move away from the quarterback position for a little bit and start addressing other needs.
Yeah, I love that. We're getting Justin Fields, a quarterback who he looked really, really good towards the end of last season, and despite not having many kind of weapons around him, I think, he's the ceiling for Justin Fields is so high, and the floor I think is actually quite high as well with his rushing, and the fact that I don't know, this might be a bit of twisted logic. The fact he's got nobody to throw to, maybe he'll actually rush much more.
If this is the worst situation as well, I mean, if this is the worst point that we're ever going to get with Justin Fields and seeing what he did last year, I mean, Allen Robinson, even though he was there, was he really? Because I mean, in terms of fantasy production, we saw nothing from him. So I just feel like the only way is up really when it comes to Justin Fields. I'm excited about the potential upside, and as I say, I've got that elite quarterback in Herbert, and then I've got Justin Fields that can hopefully in maybe next year or a couple of years can climb up and become elite as well.
Love it. So let's get Justin Fields locked into our team, as we have a little bit of a wait before we end up back on the board. As players you'd expect coming off the board, like your Aaron Rodgers you talked about as well, Jalen Waddle, who I think this is, in my opinion, this is a chance right now to go out and buy Jalen Waddle, because he can be had at the minute, because people are worried about Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill's going to demand double coverage, which means Jalen Waddle's going to be a bit freer. So this could be a very exciting season, I still think, for for Gerald Waddle as we're back on the board at pick 410. I'm actually quickly going to turn on my do not disturb so I don't get anything pinging. And here we are, our options. Sitting up at the top, we got DJ Moore and Chris Godwin and Tua Tagovailoa. Wow, what a year he could be in line for if he uses those weapons all around him.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest, Mags. I'm in uncharted territory here because this draft has already started in a way that I wouldn't usually start getting a tight end early. It's not really something I go for, but like I touched upon, the fact that I could get that elite tight end in Kyle Pitts and longevity, yeah, it's thrown me off a little bit. But I think now I've got to start looking obviously at other positions. I've got my 2 quarterbacks locked in. Obviously, tight end now it's not a need for quite a while when it comes to taking a tight end. So I'm looking at the wide receivers and running backs. So I mean, if you want Mags to help me out, you can drop off those quarterbacks and tight ends, and we can have a little closer look at what we've got left.
So let's have a look. We just got our running backs and wide receivers, as DeAndre Hopkins up there, obviously aging a bit, but still so talented. And couple of riskier running backs as well there, Akers and Jones and ETN, but wide receiver, but the depth of wide receiver is absolutely crazy. So much talent there. Yeah,
I think the point you just made there is what I'm thinking at the moment. Is wide receiver. I feel like there's just still so much depth. I mean, just looking down at the bottom of that list there, Keenan Allen, a great pick, Michael Pittman, a guy that really showed up last year. So I feel like now I'm reaching that point where there's going to be a bit of a drop off when it comes to running back. So I'm probably going to go running back here. And Cam Akers is a guy that I really liked, and it's between Akers and Travis Etienne. I know a guy that Kev's really high, and it's probably rubbing off on me how much Kev bigs up Travis Etienne that I'm starting to get really excited about Etienne as well. It's tough, mate. This the pressure of the hot seat is getting to me already, and I feel under the cosh a little bit here on who I'm going to take out of these guys. I think I'm going to go Travis Etienne. It's a tough one because I think in my rankings I actually have Akers just a couple of spots higher than Travis Etienne at the minute, but there's still that little bit of concern when it comes to Etienne, obviously the injury that he sustained last year. Yeah. Although he did come back at the end, it was many people thought a miracle that he even made it back last season and managed to have that run in the playoffs. But people are going to still be concerned about that injury. I mean, he didn't look fantastic when coming back in the playoffs, and his efficiency wasn't spectacular. But I mean, like I say, he's coming off that serious Achilles injury, and I think we've got to give him a little bit of leeway on that. But yeah, Travis Etienne, and another guy that's coming off an injury, obviously that ACL injury that he suffered. But I just like that upside. I think he's going to be used a lot in the passing game. We saw the connection that he had with his quarterback Trevor Lawrence over at Clemson as well in college, and that's something that really excites me. The fact that these two guys know each other. You just got to look at this past year. Look at the wide receivers, obviously connected with their college quarterbacks. Guys like Waddle and Chase and what they've been able to do. I mean, why can't we do it with the running backs and a guy that's really good at catching the ball as well and can have those points in PPR leagues, especially with those receptions. So yeah, I think I'm going to go Travis Etienne here.
Yeah, I think Travis Etienne is great, and I think this seems to be sort of a trend in the NFL now. Like, go get your quarterbacks guy. And Travis Etienne, obviously really talented, coming out of college, but that, I think, from the Jacksonville Jaguars was very much a let's get our new quarterback his guy and bring him in and lock him in with him in the same kind of way that the Bengals took Jamar Chase. And at the time, there was those memes going about this Burrow getting sacked and they should have got Sewell and but it's go get your guy. So I think Etienne's been brought in with first. He was taken in the first round, right?
Yeah.
First round draft capital. He's going to be a huge part of this brand new offense. So and let's get him locked in. And of course, I think I said it might have been to Kev. Etienne's injury might have been a blessing in disguise because it meant that he got a solid year of not being coached by Urban Meyer, which is only going to do wonders for his career. So here we are now in round number 5. I've just kept the running backs and wide receivers on there? Are you wanting to see any quarterbacks or tight ends?
No, I mean, we don't need to look at quarterback or tight end,
Yeah.
I think, at the minute. I mean, it is a strategy that people do take on in Superflex leagues, just grab as many quarterbacks as possible and then maybe use those as trade bait later on. But it's not something I personally like to do. I think it's too risky. I mean, you're expecting a trade and it doesn't always play out that way when it comes to thinking you can move these guys on. And then before you know it, you're selling them for peanuts because you can't do anything when it comes to the regular season. So not really an approach that I go to when it comes to startups. So looking here again, I mean, I spoke about being tossing and turning between Cam Akers and ETN, and Cam Akers is still there. Could go wide receiver here, but again, just thinking about the depth that there is at wide receiver, I feel like I could potentially wait maybe another round and then maybe start attacking the wide receiver. But then I know that, Mags, if I do that, it's like that I don't think I'm going to be able to take Malcolm Carter, and that's eating up inside me, Mags. That
he is there. Look,
I could just take him now, couldn't I? Really?
He is creeping up. I think you can probably. I would say you can safely wait till next round, but
But then am I comfortable having 3 running backs, no wide receivers? Or it's getting to me, Mags. This hot seat. I don't know if you could tell in the video. If you're watching on the video, I'm getting a little bit red now. I'm getting a little bit nervous about this. But no, I think I'm going to take Cam Akers. If I don't take Michael Carter, you can all come at me on Twitter and tell me how I'm fake and everything. But no, I think I'm going to take Cam Akers, lock in another young running back. Like I said, when it comes to running backs, that the volatile nature of the running backs is a concern. So if I can get these younger guys, Cam Akers obviously really young, Travis Etienne, they're both on the second, third year in the NFL. So more than happy to lock in Cam Akers, knowing that I've got at least a couple of years of him hopefully being the starter. And what he has shown over at the Rams. It might only be a small sample size that we've seen. Obviously didn't play a great deal as a rookie, but towards the back end of that season looked fantastic. And then, as I say, this past year, it was a real shame to see him go down with that Achilles injury, because he was a guy that I was getting super excited about for the last season. But happy to take Cam Akers now and lock in 2 good young running backs.
Yeah, Cam Akers as well. A sneaky sort of thing with Cam Akers as well is that he does have that PPR upside to his game as well. And the Rams now have got I think a fifth of all the wide receivers in the league. They just signed everybody. So Cam Akers is going to be wide open in a lot of plays, because you got to cover Cooper Kupp. 2 people have to cover Cooper Kupp at the minute. You got to cover all these other weapons that the Rams have got at their disposal. Yeah, exactly. So
it's exciting.
Who's going to be there to watch Cam Akers?
Exactly, and then it's the moves that they're making on the defensive side of the ball as well, bringing in these top defensive players. It's leading to the fact that if they need to run the ball, there's no need to pass the ball. Then I've got Cam Akers sitting here, and you can wind down that clock and get me those fantasy points. So more than happy to take Cam Akers and the upside that he offers.
Love it. So we got Cam Akers locked into play alongside Travis Etienne. As you see people like Travis Kelce going in the 5th round. Wow. And Elijah Moore, Terry McLaurin, Devonta Smith, 3 excellent wide receivers coming off the board. As we're wondering if Michael Carter is going to disappear off the board.
Carter openly goes. I don't want the pressure.
He's going to be right at the top.
No. Oh, no.
He's going to be right at the top, isn't he? Whenever we pull it up.
Oh no.
So Rashad Bateman, Jerry Jeudy, and then there he is, Michael Carter, the best Michael to ever play any sport. Never mind Jordan, never mind Schumacher, Michael Carter.
I love that. I mean, this is not going to be a great joke for anybody that doesn't know who I am and my love for Michael Carter. They're probably thinking, why are they getting so excited over Michael Carter? But I mean, I didn't want to face it, Mags. I didn't want to be put in the situation where he's staring at me, and everybody's been telling me that I've got to take him now because I've been bigging him up so much. But what do I do? Do I cave to the pressure?
Let's just see, actually. So let's see if we put on everybody. So Hawkinson's there at the top, and Bateman and Jeudy and Wentz are there before Michael Carter. And your next pick is pretty soon, so you could risk it. But
I mean, I
who
could just say
knows?
I'm going to risk it and just pray that he goes. And then I could be like, oh no, I can't play.
He is, by the way, look at that. Like, Michael Carter is ADP wise on here ahead of, Clive Edwards-Helaire, ahead of Leonard Fournette, ahead of David Harris. That's pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, in my rankings, it's probably about right where I've got him in my rankings. I've got him RB20, just behind David Montgomery, and he's I think he was the last running back to go, or one of the last ones to go. So, I mean, I can't make a case and say, oh, he's too high in the ADP, because he's about where I've got him, to be honest. So, I feel like everything's forcing me towards taking Michael Carter. I mean, I'm going to be struggling at wide receiver if I do take him. The pressure.
So I think you've got a choice here. Are you looking at Bateman and Judy, or are you going to take, Michael Carter? Because I think most likely, the receivers are at the bottom, like Michael Thomas and Mike Williams, and you got Courtland Sutton and Brandon Ayuk in there as well. Will come back to you, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of pigeonholed myself into this situation. I mean, I'm looking at the wide receiver that I do take, he's going to be my wide receiver one. I mean, I'm looking at guys like Bateman, obviously a rookie that didn't play a great deal. Jerry Jeudy, who's struggled these past couple of years, but obviously we know the upgrade at quarterback he's now got in Russell Wilson, so that's attractive. Marquise Hollywood Brown's really impressed last year. I don't think many expected the performance that he put up last year, so it's just I'm comfortable having those guys in my wide receiver one. But I mean, I'm in this position now because I can't go back. I can't take any of these guys that have gone. So
what's brilliant? I can see our mate Paul Pickett in his kitchen on his iPad, screaming at his iPad, saying, "You have to take Michael Carter."
I do, and I mean, I've come this far, Mags. I mean, I haven't come this far to get this far, have I? So I mean, let's do it. Let's take Michael Carter. Let me show the world that I am a believer in Michael Carter, and I am a believer in Michael Carter. I'm not just saying it for attention. I mean, I do think that he's a great running back. Obviously, it's. I mean, this is going against everything I believe in. Obviously, we know that he were a day 3 pick, and the Jets have got plenty of upcoming rookie picks as well. So there's a bit of risk attached here, but I just think what he showed last year, I think it surprised a lot of people. I mean, didn't surprise me, Max, because obviously you know that
you seen him outshining Javonte Williams in college, and
if honest, Mags, if anything, I was kind of disappointed about the performance that I saw last year. I was expecting top 5 running back. No, I mean, like I say, I'm here now. I've put myself in this position, so let's do it. Let's take my boy Michael Carter.
I love it. Sticking to your guns, and going to get your guy. As we see Michael Carter.
One of the great tips that I know you've had a few people come on and say is just get your guy. I mean, at the end of the day, we play this game to have fun, don't we? If you can win any money along the way, if you're playing money leagues, then brilliant. But at the end of the day, it's great cheering on the guys that you like in the NFL and that you're rooting for. So I'm happy to take Michael Carter.
Yeah, it makes Red Zone all that better as well. Whenever you see, it's one of your guys and he's on your team. Yeah. Love it.
Exactly. I haven't got to go out and overpay for him now in my Dynasty leagues, because at the end of the day, I'd want him anyway. So I've got him, and I ain't got to make those moves. But
brilliant. And here we are. So actually, in the 7th round, Jerry Jeudy did not jump off the board there, and neither did Michael Thomas or Mike Williams or Judy's teammate Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, so like I said, I've kind of pigeonholed my way into this situation. I think the only position I can really look at now is wide receiver. The quarterbacks, I mean, if I was maybe looking to take advantage of that, if I think there's a league mate that I can take advantage of, I saw guys like Kirk Cousins there. He's a guy that I think is a really solid QB too for teams. But I think I'm at that point now where I've got to take a wide receiver. I've waited as long as possible. I mean, there's still some good guys here, like you touched upon, and Jerry Jeudy is a guy that I think we can expect a bit of a bounce back in the coming year, as well as his teammate Courtland Sutton. It's become a bit of a pick 'em between those two guys, who people like more. I've seen people say that they prefer Courtland Sutton, that more of a deep threat, that go up and get it wide receiver, and then Jerry Jeudy, we know he's more the route runner, the technician that maybe Russell Wilson could favour. So both of those guys appealed to me. Michael Thomas is a guy that, when I think I've done 2 startups this off season. He's a guy that I think I've took in both of the startups that I've done, because it just feels like the value that you can get him at and the potential upside we've seen, that he when he's on the field, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And I think now as I say, I'm looking for my wide receiver one. There's concerns when it comes to Mike Williams because we know that off the field he can be a bit of a diva, let's say, and he posts some stuff on Twitter that's maybe a little bit less desirable. But I think I'm heading towards Michael Thomas here, locking in a guy that I feel is solid. I know he's getting up there in age. I think he's 28, 29.
Yeah.
But I think I just need that secure player. I feel like I can target more upside, riskier picks later on that are maybe a little bit younger, but yeah, I think I've talked myself into it. I'm going to take Michael Thomas. I know that there's desirable younger guys, Jerry Judy, Colton Sutton, that are there, but no, I'll take Michael Thomas, I think. Thank you, Mags.
Yeah, Michael Thomas, who, I think the same year you were taking, oh wow, this shows how much he's fallen. I've actually completely forgotten his name. Running back, Rams, not in the league anymore. Todd Gurley, yeah, that shows you how bad it was. Wow.
Yeah.
Todd Gurley.
I remember
Thomas was the wide receiver one that year, right?
Exactly, yeah. I remember him being right up there early round one, and yeah, he was coming off a fantastic year. I think it was a couple of years ago, and then obviously he's been dealing with injuries over the last couple of years, and I just like the potential upside. Jameis Winston there as well. We know the rewards that you can reap from having a quarterback like that, what he showed at Tampa with those wide receivers. So yeah, I'm more than happy to take a chance and hopefully see him climb back up to that top 12 wide receiver.
Yeah, I think he's got every chance to do it. Like you said, the talent is absolutely there, and there's not a lot of else there. There's only so many times you can check it down to Kamara. And there's not, Marquez Callaway didn't show too much. He's okay, didn't show too much. And then the other guys, like Smith and like Harris, didn't show too much either. So you think Thomas will slot back in as the main target there. I've only got wide receiver selected again here as we're sitting in round number 8. You got guys like Chase Claypool, aforementioned Allen Robinson there, Darnell Mooney, and Safest House's Brandon Cooks in there too. So, and then Calvin Ridley, who I think his ADP is still a bit high compared to where it should be.
Yeah, let's just take a look at the full board then, see what players I've got. I mean, if there's somebody that stands out, I mean, I've just straight away the player that stands out is Derek Carr. Obviously, in a super flex league, you really want to be getting those 3 quarterbacks. It gives you that little bit more movement when it comes to making trades. Just having a quarterback, you can then use Derek Carr. I'm expecting him to take a bit of a jump this year with Devontae Adams coming in over it with the Raiders. And I feel like that gives me a little bit of wiggle room then when it comes to trading. I can maybe trade down from Derek Carr. I can maybe even make a move away from my other quarterbacks if I want to move down from Justin Fields and maybe improve my roster elsewhere. So in Superflex leagues, I'm wanting to take that third quarterback and looking at what we've got. I mean, Daniel Jones later on, I think he offers a bit of upside. Is obviously I'm a Giants fan, so that's kind of. I mean, I've got to say that I'm not really as a Giants fan, but there's risk attached to Daniel Jones as well. This feels like his final year. If he doesn't show up this year, then there's a chance that he's not even a starting quarterback next year. So there's risk there. So now it's just deciding what I want to do and address my needs, I guess. So. Do I go wide receiver or do I play? I think I'm gonna dive straight in. I'm gonna play it safe. I'm gonna take Derek Carr. I think lock in that third quarterback. I know there's still some great guys there that I could take wide receivers. Chase Claypool's a guy that I think can take a step forward next year with Juju leaving over at the Steelers. I could get that stack. I could get Darnell Mooney, stacking with Justin Fields, but he's a guy that I'm not super high on. And like I touched on, Brandon Cooks is safe as houses, always seems to put up the points. So that is tempting, but no, I think I'm going to take Derek Carr. I'm just looking at it more now from a value standpoint, and I think if it got into the regular season, I don't think you'd be able to trade Brandon Cooks to get a guy like Derek Carr. It's as I say, it's so hard to get a quarterback in Superflex, and really want to be locking down 3 quarterbacks where possible. Just to give you that movement. So yeah, happy to take Derek Carr here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's something I always think about as well. Like you said, whenever the season starts, right, have a look at all those players there. You're like, right, is someone going to trade me can I get Derek Carr for any of these other players straight up? Maybe Chase Claypool.
Yeah, I mean, if Chase comes out and makes a strong start to the season, then yeah, you could say that you could move off him for Derek Carr. But as I say, I just want to lock in that third quarterback. Feel a lot steadier about my team. It's something that you learn through your mistakes, and I've made that mistake plenty of times when I first started playing in Superflex leagues, not getting that third quarterback, not getting those top quarterbacks, and yeah, it's not fun. It becomes a bit of a nightmare when you get into the season.
Yeah, and Derek Carr, I think for whatever reason, Derek Carr seems to be a bit of an end of a tier in a lot of cases. So after Derek Carr, you've got this. You can see them now. You got your Jared Goffs, your Jimmy Garoppolo's, your Sam Darnold's, your Daniel Jones's. You're like a bit more like, oh, I don't know. And then I think Davis Mills is maybe in there, who I would maybe go for ahead of those guys just on his potential. But yeah, Derek Carr seems to be the last of the safe quarterbacks on the board usually. And actually, we're back in the board, and Chase Claypool is still there.
Yeah, so like I touched upon, Claypool's definitely tempting. Brandon Cooks, again, offering me a solid guy. So just looking at what we can see now, there's nobody that really stands out at the quarterback, running back, or tight end position. So if we just filter down to wide receivers, Mags, make it a little bit easier for me. Don't give me no temptations looking at these other positions that I don't really need to address at this moment.
Yes. So you got, like I said, Claypool and Cooks, who we talked about earlier. Tyler Lockett lost a lot of value, I suppose, with his quarterback, and you got some interesting ones like Rondale Moore and Michael Gallup and Juju Smith-Schuster actually of the Chiefs could have a big year coming. He kind of needs to have a big year.
Yeah, Juju's definitely somebody that stands out. I'm on the Fantasy Wildcard. We spoke a little bit about Juju when he went over to the Chiefs. That was before the Tyreek Hill move, and what we alluded to was that if anything were to happen to Tyreek Hill, the potential bump in value that you're going to see from Juju, those targets that he's going to see, you then get in a potential wide receiver one for such a cheap price. And now obviously with Tyreek Hill being traded, he's vaulted up right there now to being that top guy, I think, for me. Obviously they brought in MVS from the Packers. But I mean, they're not in the same league for me. Juju Smith-Schuster, he stands out, and yeah, it's a tough situation, Max. Again, I mean, what do I now look at? As I say, I've got that strong wide receiver one in Michael Thomas, who I think, even though he's getting up there in age, he feels solid. So now do I start looking at maybe that upside, going for maybe the younger guys, or do I stick with those proven guys? And I think in Dynasty we all get a little bit overexcited, a little bit too invested in age when it comes to players, and wide receiver, that's the one position that tends to, the older they get, it doesn't really affect too much. I mean, people in the prime tend to be around that 27, 28 range anyway. So I don't feel like I need to go reaching for the younger guys. Rondale Moore's a guy that I really liked. Last year didn't have the greatest of years, but there's definitely an opportunity for him now with guys like Christian Kirk moving to the Jags. But yeah, I don't feel the need like I've got to go and get one of these younger guys. So I think you touched upon it, Mags. You nailed it perfectly with Brandon Cooks. Safe as houses every year. He's getting right around that 1,000 receiving yards, throwing in a few touchdowns as well. Hearing rumours that he could potentially be traded. I've heard that there's people looking his way. So another move for Brandon Cooks. I mean, he's a guy that he likes to move around the league a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's any concern if he was to move away. And if anything, it might be a potential bonus if he was to leave Houston. It's a bit of a mess over there at the minute. I know you touched upon Davis Mills. He's a guy that really impressed a lot of people, I think, last year with how he performed. But Brandon Cooks feels safe, so I'm happy to lock him in. Might not have that upside of somebody like Chase Claypool, but rock solid and just bringing in those fantasy points.
Yeah, you really like, especially obviously you end up taking your wide receivers a bit later as well. So you need to be, if you are taking your receivers, your Brandon Cooks is great because you can just trust him and you don't have to worry about that like potential goose egg sitting in wide receiver. Cooks is going to score you on a consistent basis. So I really like that pick there. As you see some of those quarterbacks coming off the board we talked about earlier, like Jimmy G and Daniel Jones.
We've avoided this messy part of the draft where people are just, they're desperate to take that third quarterback, maybe even taking the second quarterback. And I can sit here now, just watch these players fall to me because I don't have to grab those quarterbacks. I've got my three solid quarterbacks, and I'm happy to see players fall to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see here, I just put on the full board, and people like Davis Mills now starting to pop up. I imagine he'll creep up ADP as well as the off season continues. And you got your Locketts and Moores there, and Juju Smith-Schuster still sitting there as well.
Yeah, I think we touched upon it in the last part. I was tempted for Juju in the last part that when I had my pick. So the fact that he still is, yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad to see that people are taking all those scrub quarterbacks, because it means that I've got a guy like Juju falling to me. And yeah, don't need to think too hard about this one. I'm happy to take Juju Smith-Schuster. He is only on that 1 year deal with your chief, Mags. I mean, I forgot to even bring up the your chief. So I know you like this pick that I'm going for.
I've got my sign back here somewhere, don't I? I'm sitting behind it, but I've got my little
Let's go.
Represent. Yeah.
Love it.
So yeah, let's get Juju in, and I think that's a great value pick. What round are we in? Round number 10. Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster in that.
Yeah, we've seen that upside that he has. Obviously, but that was when he was playing alongside Antonio Brown. But when he first came into the NFL, looked really great, really solid. He was another guy that was going quite high in startup drafts. When he did have that strong start to his career, obviously faded a little bit over the last few years, but playing with Big Ben, I mean, the fact that he's going to go from Big Ben to Patrick Mahomes, probably one of the best quarterbacks that in the league. He could potentially be one of the best ever quarterbacks in the NFL. So yeah, more than happy to get Juju Smith-Schuster. Hope that he can really impress in this year contract that he's got, and hopefully they bring him back in future years. Still really young. I believe he's only 25. I think he was 19 when he came into the NFL. So still only 25 years old. Plays in the slot. I feel like you're going to get a lot of targets with Juju. So that again offers you that safe floor. And yeah, more than happy to get Juju.
Yeah, Juju going to have that link up with one Mahomes on the field and that link up with the other Mahomes on TikTok, I assume. So let's get him locked in, as we have a short wait until we get into round number 11, as Tyler Boyd coming off the board and Rondale Moore as well off the board. And here we are, round number 11. Cordell Patterson sitting up there, Laviska Shenault up there as well, who's still part of Jacksonville Jaguars. There's talk about him being traded, but he seems to have stayed there. And we've got some Kenny Galladay's, Odell Beckham's, and Davis Mills, who we talked about for a bit as well, still there. Yeah,
so I think we're at that stage, and I think I've got a pretty balanced team. I feel like I'm going for that win now team, but at the same time, I feel like I've brought in some guys that have a bit of longevity. Obviously, the running back position, I've got those younger guys, so I feel like I can go anywhere now at this stage of the draft. I obviously don't need quarterback, and I'm not going to be taking guys like Tyler Heineke when there's still these players at the skill position that I can go for. So if you would, Mags, we'll just look at all the running backs and maybe work his way through and then look at the wide receivers. So
sounds good. So running back, you got Cordell Patterson, obviously looked amazing last year. Devin Singletary looked great. Sort of down the stretch. Then, Alexander Madison, one of my most owned players in Dynasty, just happens to be Alexander Madison. But, can he get any consistent game? Every time he plays, he looks fantastic, but it's getting into play is a tricky one. And then you can go for the Chiefs double there with Ronald Jones too. So that's your options at running back.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody there that stands out that you think, I need to get that guy. So yeah, maybe we'll just take a look at the wide receivers. Maybe I can wait a little bit longer at running back.
Yeah, no problem. So at receiver, you got your Viscas and your Kenny Galladay's, OBJ, Hunter Renfrow obviously had a great season. Kadarius Toney and Christian Kirk there as well. Who, Christian Kirk, you'd think will be used after all the money they paid him.
Yeah, a little bit more maybe appealing looking at the wide receivers. Kenny Golladay makes me laugh because I was bigging him up as I say, being that Giants fan, superstar Giants wide receiver. Kenny Golladay is what I was labeling him as. Didn't quite turn out how I hoped as a Giants fan, but still I think there's potential there with Golladay. I mean, last year was just a wreck in general for the Giants. Then looking a little bit further down, Kadarius Toney again, sticking with the Giants. Showed flashes last year, but he wasn't a guy that I was super excited for the Giants when we selected in round one. I seem to remember texting Kev saying that, I said a few unchoice words about that selection. so maybe I've just got some kind of mental block that won't let me take Toney. But
I forgot I forgot he was round one, actually. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
trust me, Max, I didn't forget it was round one. It gives me sleepless nights because you've got to think about this upcoming draft. I don't want to make that same mistake again. So hopefully the Giants a little bit smarter with their picks in the NFL draft. But just looking back at the board, Christian Kirk's a guy that I've really been high on. When he was over at the Cardinals, I get labelled as the Cardinals being my second team, being my fantasy team, because I do get excited about a lot of those guys, Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. I was really high on last year. And again, that didn't play out great for me, but Christian Kirk, a guy that I really like. And as you say, moving over to the Jags, getting paid those big bucks, you feel like that they've got a role for him in mind. I mean, why pay a guy that much money if you're not going to use him in the offense? The only concern is maybe that I've got Travis Etienne, so I'm now looking at two Jags players and seeing what they did last year. The Jags, I mean, can't think with too much hope, but I feel like things can only get better for the Jags, and the fact that they are so weak, you feel like they're going to need to throw the ball quite a lot. So it kind of plays into the hands of having these pass catching guys. Can we just take a quick look at the tight end? I mean, I know I've got that young elite tight end in Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I mean, just looking at that, there's no need for me to go and grab anybody yet. I mean, Noah Fant's a guy that I do quite like. I feel like people are down on him now with him moving away from Denver. But if anything, I feel like that could potentially be an increase to his value, because moving away from those elite wide receivers, I know that the Seahawks have got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, but it sounds like that they're happy to move those guys. So there could be potential for him seeing maybe even more targets if Drew Lock starts. I mean, I can't imagine it, but if he starts, we know that there's a connection there between Drew Lock and Noah Fant. But I don't think there's any need for me to go for tight end. I can wait a little bit longer. As I say, I've got that elite young tight end. So I think we're going to go back to the wide receivers, Mags. I think I've made my mind up, and I think I'm going to take Christian Kirk again. Feels a little bit safe. As I say, predominantly plays in the slot, but you feel like he's going to get a lot of involvement in that offense. I believe that Trevor Lawrence can bounce back from that rookie season that people weren't too excited about. But I mean, it was one of the best college quarterbacks that we've seen in years, and I just don't think that we got to see the true ability that he's got. So happy to take Christian Kirk there. I think is that my wide receiver 4, and
I think
after the shaky start of avoiding wide receivers for so long, you got locking up some solid wide receivers now. So Christian Kirk, happy with it.
Let's get him locked in. And I thought that was a really good point there about Trevor Lawrence, and saying he is one of the best really quarterbacks coming out of college, and you just cannot after 1 year judge these quarterbacks. I mean, look at Josh Allen, who was slandered fairly significantly after his first year in the league, and it is a completely different game. I can't remember who it might have been. OCM Manura on the BBC's NFL show was talking about in college the ball is faster than the players, but in the NFL the players are faster than the ball, and that's the biggest adjustment that you got to get used to. So I think Trevor Lawrence has the ability to make those adjustments, and you see what he did in college, and you see when he was the highest recruit out of high school, the highest recruit out of college, probably the highest recruit out of elementary school as well. This guy is he's just a winner, and I expect him to take a massive step up, and Christian Kirk's going to reap the rewards. As here we go, round number 12. I'll just put on everybody again. As you got Jarvis Landry sitting up the top, Hunter Henry as well as Robbie Anderson, and of course the man, the myth, the legend, DJ Chark.
To be honest, I was a little bit upset when Kev didn't take DJ Chark, and it makes out like he's not really DJ Chark's biggest fan, but let me tell you, Kev loves a bit of DJ Chark. So actually,
a bit of unseen footage was whenever his webcam slipped and the DJ Chark poster came into view. He said he demanded I cut that out.
Sounds just like Kev. I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, again, I'm probably thinking wide receiver again, to be honest. I'll just take a quick look at what running backs we've got, Mags, and see what we've got. But I feel like I've got 3 solid running backs now. I mean, at the end of the day, as I say, that it's such a volatile position at running back. I feel like I can wait and just take some shots. I know when you had Rich Dynasty Island on, that was his approach to the end of the draft is just take shot after shot at running back. And while I might not go as crazy as Rich and take running back after running back, I still think you can wait and just take some dart throws later on. I've got, as I say, three solid running backs. So I think I can maybe wait another round, maybe another 2 rounds. Raheem Mostert though does stand out for this. That's more of a short term investment, I think. But we've spoke about on the Fantasy Wildcard that's a really interesting spot that he's landed over at Miami. That offense that they're going to carry over there with Mark McDaniel. We love the 49ers backfield and what it can do for fantasy points. So really interesting guy with those qualities that we've seen in a 49ers backfield that he's put up great fantasy numbers. But as I say, it just feels more like a short-term investment, and I probably don't need to reach for a running back at this stage. So we'll just take another look at the wide receivers, Mags.
So wide receivers, you got, the three you mentioned earlier. We've got, oh wow, look, I didn't even see get off the terrace Marshall.
I know. I remember you said this. This is like Kev's sweet spot. This is his his wet dream part of the draft. all these guys that are on there, all Kev's biggest hits.
Even Will Fuller sitting there as well. Wow, this is what an absolute treat over the list this is.
I mean, it feels like when you're at this stage of the draft, as I say, I feel like I've locked in some solid wide receivers that I feel consistent. I can maybe now start shooting for some guys that have got that upside. I mean, a guy like Will Fuller, when he's on the field, I personally think when he's on the field, he's one of the maybe top 10, top 12 wide receivers in terms of talent. It's just staying on the field. He just can't seem to do it unless he's getting a little help from his doctor and what have you with some medication. So that's risky, but the upside there. Devontae Parker as well is a guy that's standing out now, moving over to the Patriots. Feel like he's going to slot in as that wide receiver one over there. And Mac Jones really impressed as a rookie, and getting a guy that could be his wide receiver one, a bit of a red zone threat, target for Mac Jones. Definitely appeal there. This just feels more appealing at the moment, these wide receivers. I'll take a quick look at tight end again, Max, just to see if there's anybody that stands out.
So 100 is Irv Smith Jr. there as well, someone I've been targeting for the last kind of two years, and Gronk there as well. Who has he said he's coming back?
I've not heard anything of late. I know there was rumors, obviously, weren't it, that he was going to go over to the Bills, was it? And I think he said that he'd like to play with Joe Burrow as well over at the Bengals, was it?
Yeah.
So, but no, not heard anything about him re-signing with Tampa Bay. But now that Brady's gone back there, you feel like he's probably going to stay with his good old buddy Tom Brady over at the Buccaneers. But no, I don't think I need to go for Gronk. It feels like that's another short-term option. Irv Smith, like you said, he's a guy that I really do like. Kev ribs me for it because I was getting so excited about Irv Smith when Kyle Rudolph left. Kev likes to mock me because I said it was big that Rudolph was leaving, but Kev likes to point to the fact that he barely saw any targets. But I just think it was the opportunity for Irv Smith getting the snaps more than anything from Kyle Rudolph is what attracts me. And now I think he's the only tight end that they've got over there at the Vikings. So I could go wide receiver, I guess, or I could go tight end and get a solid tight end.
So just sort of see where we are on the board again fairly soon after this as well.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna stick with wide receiver again. I think I'm just gonna keep going for these solid wide receivers. Will Fuller's standing out. Nico Collins as well, a guy that didn't do a great deal as a rookie, but when he did show up, he flashed at the potential that he's got. Bryan Edwards not a guy that I'm super excited about. DJ Chark, I mean, I know Kev loves him, and obviously going to the Lions, it's change of scenery for him, but no, I'm not too impressed with DJ Chark at this point. Pressure on now, Mags. What do I go for?
I love that. This is like, I think I said it in a few episodes. This is my favorite thing because everyone does it. Like, this is what I do when I'm on the clock. I'm like,
I'm glad it's not a fast draft, because I'll be getting auto clocked with DJ Chalk or something. So yeah, I'm glad I've got a bit of time to have a look at what we've got.
Yeah.
So can I just take a look at my roster, what I've got at the moment? And
yeah, of course. I'll show you positionally as well, so it's a bit easier to digest. You got your 3 QBs. You're obviously really, really great selection. You got 3 running backs. You got 4 wide receivers and the 1 tight end.
So the only thing that I'm thinking at the moment is Kyle Pitts. While I do think he's a great player, I feel like if I am going to compete now, I probably need a more secure tight end, one that I feel like I'm quite comfortable with this year. Can you just go back and I'll just take a quick look at just the tight ends and see if there's anyone a little bit I can maybe potentially weigh it on. I mean,
Alberto,
he's the one that I think stands out. Gerald Everett as well, going over to the Chargers.
Yeah,
could get a nice little stack there with my quarterback in Justin Herbert. If he takes a shine to Gerald Everett, I'm gaining a nice advantage there. Again, Evan Engram's a guy that could potentially see a bit of work next year and can cover for me if I'm not too confident in Kyle Pitts. So
you could start Engram. You could start all the Jags all at once.
I mean, who'd have thought that I've become a Jags fan during the course of this mock draft, and I'm loading up on Jags players. But no, I think there's some guys further down, like I say, Albert, and I mean, I'm like you've touched upon, I'm coming up soon again in the draft, so. Yeah, I feel like most of these guys are going to be there, and I think just going back to the wide receivers, Mags, I think there's more guys there. I feel like there could be another bit of a tier break coming. Robbie Anderson, a guy that we've not really spoke about, but could be potential there as that deep threat over at Carolina if they take a quarterback, maybe get an upgrade over Sam Darnold.
Yeah. Are they in the running for Malik Willis?
I mean, yeah. Where do they pick at? Is it 7 or 8? I think so.
Yeah,
they're quite high up there. I think in the NFL draft, and if the Lions, I think they're the team that seems to be getting mocked with Willis a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
If they don't take Willis, then yeah, they could be in a position where they could get Willis, and that's going to be attractive for the pass catching weapons there. But now I think I'm going to go for. I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to take Will Fuller. I think I know. Obviously, we don't know where he's going to be playing next year. There's risk attached to him when it comes to the injuries. But as I say, I just think there's that bit of upside there with Will Fuller that maybe these other guys don't quite offer. And if it hits, I mean, I remember when he come out all guns blazing for the Texans when he had that really strong year. I mean, his value shot up dramatically. He was a guy that you could play every week, and he was putting up double-digit numbers comfortably every week. So we know the upside's there, and I just feel like at this point I can maybe take a little shot at that upside. So yeah, I'll go for yet another wide receiver. I've obviously panicked when I've seen that I've got no wide receivers early, and now I've overcompensated and I'm attacking wide receivers. But
well, let's get Will Fuller locked in there. And ideally he might end up with his old teammate Deshaun Watson over at Cleveland. That'd be quite a nice fit in there, as where, like we talked about, we're quickly back on the clock again. Most of those guys that we talked about are still there, as Drew Lock came off the board, and Tom Brady, who obviously you're not going to be able to get in the 13th round, so that's kind of a glitch in the system there.
Yeah, we don't cheat over here, Mags. We do it serious.
So I filtered it just wide receivers at the minute.
Yeah, I think we've got plenty of wide receivers now, Mags. As I say, I've kind of hammered the position the last few rounds. So yeah, you've nailed it there. I think running backs, tight ends are probably the 2 positions. Quarterbacks, I mean, all I can see there's Cam Newton.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky's down there, I suppose.
Mitch Trubisky is definitely interesting. I think there's a little bit of risk there. We don't know how the longevity there, but I know when he played for the Bears, I think Kev touched upon it. It was kind of harshly treated, and I think he was pretty solid, to be honest, with the Bears. And maybe over at the Steelers he can do something. I'm a little bit concerned that maybe the Steelers look at bringing in a rookie quarterback and that becoming a bit of a competition, and then maybe we don't even get to see any Trubisky starting. So feels a little bit risky. I feel like I don't need to take that chance now. I've got those three quarterbacks. I'm happy to fade the position now, I think. And look elsewhere. So we'll just take a look at all the running backs, Mags. I know it's not great viewing for anybody watching watching the video, it's not great to look at, but I mean, I feel like I've got to start taking some running backs. I've completely flipped. I took running back early and then faded it, gone for all the wide receivers, and now I think I'm crawling back towards taking running backs.
Well, you've got the only running back that matters, so that's
exactly.
The main thing.
To be honest, I'm locked in. I've got Michael Carter. That's guaranteed points at the running back position.
So who do you have here, Roma? Let's see. You got, Raheem Mostert, who we talked about earlier. He's still sitting there, and as is Kenyon Drake, who's come back to Vegas for another year, and J.D. McKissick, breaker of hearts, J.D. McKissick, who, everyone who owned Antonio Gibson got me excited for about 5 minutes, and then he came along.
As a big Antonio Gibson fan, I was really excited to see that he'd be leaving Washington, and then shattered my dreams in the space of what was it, a day? Was it even a day? I don't know, but
I was like, what is going on? I thought it was like, it's not April yet. I thought it was April Fools, and it was like, oh, just a disaster.
Yeah, a little bit lower down on the board there, Gus Edwards. I feel like that's you kind of mentioned it with Madison. That's one of those handcuff running backs that if anything were to happen to the starter, then Madison slides in as that starter, and we've seen that he can produce it. It feels like the same thing with Gus Edwards.
Yeah,
when he's been healthy, when anything's happened to J.K. Dobbins, that backfield, it just tends to lead to success when it comes to the running backs. I think a lot of people think because Lamar Jackson can run the ball that you don't want a running back for the Ravens, but that entire offense is built around running the ball. So whether you've got the starter or the quarterback there, it's exciting in terms of running the ball. And if anything were to happen to Dobbins, obviously coming back from that injury, the same as Gus Edwards is as well, but if he does get a shot at starting, we know what he can do, and that becomes now interesting in terms of getting him, just locking him up as a handcuff. And
Khalil Herbert as well, sitting up there, kind of the same deal, right? He looked very good in Chicago, and he just doesn't have that opportunity to be what we assume Montgomery's going to be the starter, but Khalil Herbert has looked good when he's played.
That's it. When you get to this stage of the draft, that's more what I'm thinking now. It's more there's no real starters here, is there? We've talked about Raheem Mostert. He's probably the one. If I was picking any of those guys, he's probably the one that I think could get the most opportunity. But we've reached that stage now where it's just you're taking a handcuff, and if anything were to happen to the starter, then you've got yourself a solid running back. I'll just take a quick look at the tight ends, Mags, because as I say, I've only got that one young tight end. And
of course. So Hunter Henry's still there.
It's not really changed, has it, since we were last there? The top guys, Henry, Dave Smith, Gronk's still there.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that Alberto's still there as well. So I feel like I can maybe wait another round and take one of these guys a little bit further down. Gerald, Everett, I spoke about. So I think we'll go for a running back. I've only got the 3 running backs. It feels like the position that I know a big tip and something that I agree with is you don't have to draft for need when you're doing your dynasty startups. You just take that value really and think. But I think with running backs you can kind of apply that, because as I say, if anything were to happen to the starter, if you've got that handcuff, you're going to get an increase in value, and kind of touching on what Rich did Dynasty Island and getting these later running backs. So I think, I'm going to take Raheem Mostert here. We've touched upon him a couple of times now, and he still seems to be sitting there. It's a short-term investment. He's getting up there, 30 years old, I believe. Again, himself coming off an injury, but I just like the situation that he's in. I mean, we could be talking in a few weeks when the NFL draft rolls around. This could be the most irrelevant pick you've ever seen in terms of Dynasty when the Dolphins select a running back early. But they've just traded away the first, haven't they, to get Tyreek Hill. So at least there's that little comfort knowing that they're not going to go super early at running back. So Raheem Mostert, I like his fit in that style of offense that Mike McDaniel's going to bring over from San Francisco. And as I say, we've seen it before. So happy to get him on board and just be that short-term option if I need him. And it's personally, I think I prefer him over Chase Edmonds, who went over to the Dolphins as well.
Yeah.
Maybe from a dynasty standpoint, I know in terms of value that Chase Edmonds, he's going to have the more value out of the two guys. But just in terms of what I think production-wise, I'm just going for the fastest guy in that backfield. That's what I tend to do when it comes to the 49ers backfield. It worked for me last year with Elijah Mitchell and what he did over there. So yeah, give me Raheem Mostert and that short term potential.
Brilliant. So let's get Raheem Mostert
I feel a little
locked
bit
in.
more comfortable now. I've got my four.
Yeah.
I've got 4 running backs now. As I say, I faded the position a little bit. Got a little bit excited when I went crazy and got Michael Carter. Felt like I didn't need to address the position anymore. But yeah, we've reached a stage where I think I need to get those running backs.
Just have a peek at it, yeah. And you're right. And it is like upside at the minute as well. Like
yeah,
especially with that running back position in round number 14 and. Like, what are your running backs are pretty good though, right? You got ETN and Akers and Carter and Mostert.
I've gone super young and then thrown in an old guy. I've got to balance out that age a little bit and bring the average age up a little bit with Mostert. But yeah, I think a common term that you often hear in drafts is at the start of the draft, that's where you can lose your draft, but at the end of the draft, that's really where you can win your leagues.
Absolutely.
The only thing you can do at the start is lose really. I mean, these are all just top guys, and you've just got to make sure you take the right one. But when you get to the later stage, this is where you're shooting for upside now, and really trying to win your draft.
It is crazy. Like looking at that list, it is weird. Like in 1 year's time, if you go back and you watch this episode, we're sitting in round number 14. There is a name on this list that you'll be like, why did I not take that? Like, how did I not see that? Like Russell Gage breakout year. How did I not see that coming? Or how did you not see that, Adam Tryman was tight end number 3 on the year? Like just, you don't see it coming sometimes. Yeah, it's crazy.
There's always, I mean, the hit rate is obviously not great. It's, you're kind of throwing darts at this stage, but if you can just nail one, then you've just, the overall value of your roster is going to see a nice boost. So that's really what you're targeting at this stage, just trying to find that potential gem that can break out and give a little bit. And I mean, when you're drafting, it's a pretty level playing field, isn't it? I mean, everyone's drafting all together. We're all doing round 1, round 2, round 3. So you feel like the average value of teams is pretty even. It's as the years go on is where you start seeing the discrepancies in value.
Yeah, completely agree. As we're on the board here, it's round number 14. I've just put all positions on. Or you want to have a look at everybody, or is there certain places you're thinking in particular?
Well, I've touched upon it at tight end. Obviously, I've still only got the one tight end at the minute. I mean, there's a guy that's standing out. Not many people know this, but Kenyon Drake. He is my most owned player in Dynasty.
Really?
Maybe not a great accolade to have because I mean, he didn't do too much last year, but it was a guy that I remember when he went over to the Cardinals. I was really excited about that. I remember picking up some shares when he went there, and then obviously when he moved over to the Raiders. I'm not the biggest Josh Jacobs fan, so the fact that I thought a pass catching weapon over there, they paid him pretty good money when he went over to the Raiders. That was another year of me getting invested in Kenyon Drake, and now here I am sitting my most owned running back, Kenyon Drake, and he's probably not even going to see a snap next year in the NFL. So just a nice little tip there for everybody if they want to laugh at me is. Yeah, Kenyon Drake's my most owned player in Dynasty.
Well, you could add one more.
I mean, I've got enough mags. I think I can afford to give him a miss here. We'll just take a look at the Titans because I saw a few go off the board.
You got the people we talked about earlier, like Gerald, Everett, and Alberto, still sitting there, and Evan Engram too, as well as some other Titans there as well.
Yeah, I mean. There's a younger guy there, Brevin Jordan's a guy that I was really high on as an incoming rookie. I remember before the NFL draft, I had him as my tight end 2 in the class, I think, in front of Pat Fryermuth. Obviously, when he went, I think he went round 5, didn't he, in the end to the Texans. I dropped him down a little bit, but I still believe in that talent. So he's definitely an interesting guy over there at the Texans. But as I say, I've already got a young tight end. Don't really need to keep going for it. If maybe I can get him later on as the last pick, then I'm happy to take him there. But I keep saying it. I need to maybe get a tight end that's got a bit of a safe floor this year. Somebody that can bring me some points in this year if it doesn't work out for Kyle Pitts and a bit of a mess that's going over there at the Falcons. I mean, Logan Thomas, if you know me, that's a guy that I really do not like. I remember slamming him. He reminds me a little bit of a guy just a little bit further down the board there in Tyler Higbee. A guy that really impressed at the end of the year a couple of years ago, and then just absolutely let me down when I got invested in Tyler Higbee. So Yeah, not guys. I mean, we're at that stage again where there's nobody that's super exciting, but the two that stand out is Gerald, Everett, and Alberto. They're the two guys that are appealing to me, and I think I'm gonna go Gerald Everett. I think it's a little bit of a risky one. He's another guy that I've really liked over the years. I remember when he was at the Rams, I really liked him. Felt like he didn't get an opportunity, obviously playing alongside Tyler Higbee. When he did get the chance, feel like he showed a lot of upside. Then went over to the Seahawks. Again, showed flashes without really being too heavily used. But now he's gone over to the Chargers. As I say, I've got Justin Herbert as my quarterback, so getting a nice little stack over there. If he does become something, then yeah, I'm excited about that. We know there's a need there at tight end for the Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this could be another pick that I'm going to look stupid on if they do take maybe that top tight end in Trey McBride in the NFL draft and they bring him in. But I feel like we've reached that point now in terms of free agents. It's all settled down now. Guys like Mike Gesicki didn't move on. So the fact that they've gone and got Everett, he could potentially be that starter there next year. And happy to get that stack and hopefully can put me some points up if things don't quite work out as hope for Kyle Pitts next year.
Yeah, I think Alberto will do really well, especially like considering I think I picked up quite a few shares of Jared Cook off the waiver wire last year, and you could actually on a bye week you could put in Jared Cook and he would get you a touchdown or two, and he was actually quite safe. And Gerald Everett is quite a good player, and you'd imagine he'll beat out Donald Parham and Trey McKinney as the other one.
I mean, it was a second round pick when he was selected in the NFL. So I mean, the talent, you feel like the talent's there for him going to a team that's really pass heavy with a top quarterback that they've got there. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely potential upside there. He's going to be one of those tight ends I think that people find as a bit of a sleeper going into next year, get excited about. I mean, when it comes to tight ends and sleepers, it's not very often that you hit with those guys, but getting him as my tight end too, bit of a safety blanket, and yeah, happy to get that stack.
I always have far too many tight ends on my roster. I always see like the potential, and you can sometimes just get like tight ends in your waiver wire that are like, it's not like any other position, but like they're starting tight ends. They're like, oh, they're in a waiver wire. It's like, oh, I'll grab them, and it's like, I don't need 6 tight ends. What am I doing?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm a lover of tight ends. Kev likes to rip me for it, and Ali on the podcast. They know that I'm a tight end whisperer. So
the tight end whisperer. That's great. You should put that in your Twitter bio now as well. So here we are now. We're round number 15, and we got people who we talked about earlier, like Jenny. We've got sort of 3 pretty good PPR running backs there with Chuba Hubbard and Naheem Hines and Jenny McKissick. Naheem Hines obviously rumored to be playing some more out of the slot for the Colts, which could be very interesting for his value. And Mitchell Trubisky's still sitting there as well.
Yeah, I feel like now I've addressed a lot of needs. I feel like I can go any position really at the moment. Yeah. So we'll just quickly fly through all the positions. We don't need to go quarterback. I mean, I know Mitch Trubisky is still there. I imagine that in most startups he's probably creeping up a little bit in ADP. So
yeah, I'd say
happy to avoid the quarterback. But yeah, we'll just take a look at the running backs.
So running backs,
Gus Edwards, I just spoke about. He's a guy that stands out. Like I touched upon, Naeem Hines is definitely intriguing. Seeing if he does fit into playing a little bit more in the slot with Matt Ryan now over at the Colts. Apart from that, they're probably the only 2 that stand out. James White re-signed with the Patriots and an older running back, but in PPR, we've seen the upside that he can have in terms of PPR. A bit of a crowded backfield. Now over at the Patriots, but he offers something a little bit different to what Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris offer. So yeah, another interesting one, but we'll just take a look at the wide receivers.
So receiver, Van Jefferson.
I know he's a popular one. I know.
Very, yeah. And then Amari Rodgers sitting there as well. Sort of more and more people talking about Amari Rodgers with Aaron Rodgers, re-signing, and you got some other players like Marquez Callaway sitting there too, and Tim Patrick, and one of my favorite players actually, Tim Patrick. I think he's just this real solid pro. I just think every time I see him, I'm like, he's really good, and he doesn't get used as much as I don't know why. I like me some Tim Patrick.
Yeah, definitely a crowded wide receiver room over there at Denver. Doesn't maybe see that opportunity that maybe he should do. I'll just say when he does play, he looks solid. Josh Palmer's a guy that I really liked. Was a bit of a sleeper last year in terms of rookies. Didn't really do too much. But yeah, there's potential upside there. Rodgers again, another younger guy. Still in Shepherd's a guy. Circling back to my Giants roots, talking about a Giants wide receiver, but he's another guy that seems to be underrated a lot. Flashed a little bit at the start of last season when Daniel Jones was looking like the Daniel Jones that I hoped he could be in terms of fantasy. I think he was like quarterback 5 maybe in fantasy for those first few weeks. But
it was rushing touchdowns, right? Wasn't it? It was,
yeah. But Sterling Shepard, he reaped the benefits of that, and he looks solid. But yeah, I don't feel like I need to get a guy like Sterling Shepard at the minute. So I don't think I need to go tight end. As I say, I've got my 2 now. I can maybe take one. Maybe as my last pick, I might go for a tight end. But now I think I'll go back to the running back position. I think a couple of guys that we've spoke about, but I think Gus Edwards, he's the one that stands out for the reasons that we spoke about a little earlier. The fact that if anything happens to J.K. Dobbins, if maybe he comes back a little bit later from his injury and Gus Edwards maybe comes back a little bit earlier, then he could maybe get that starting shot, get you some early fantasy points. Or if it's the other way around, if anything were to happen to Dobbins, I'm just happy to take the running back on that backfield. We're at that awkward stage of the offseason though, where the NFL draft's coming up and these later picks can be made to look kind of foolish in a few weeks' time. If the Ravens take a late running back, he could potentially be the backup over there. But no, I've been happy from what I've seen from Gus Edwards over the last few years and what he can do in that backfield. So yeah, happy to take a shot at the potential upside there in Gus Edwards at this stage. Yeah,
love it. Gus Edwards, and the 15th round as well. That's pretty good value, especially considering if Dobbins does go down, you're absolutely laughing.
Absolutely.
And here we are. We're coming into round number 16 for the third last pick of our draft. And I imagine whenever we see whoever's left on the board, it's going to be slim pickings. Best quarterback in the league, Marcus Mariota.
Can't believe it. Sniped.
Yeah. As we have not the best quarterback in the league, Taysom Hill, sitting up at the front.
Is he even a quarterback anymore?
He's
a tight end now, isn't he? I think he's having to go at all the positions.
I wouldn't be shocked if he was if they hired him as Sean Payton's replacement. They just put Taysom Hill in charge. He's done everything else. So
yeah.
Here we are. We've got Alberto's actually still sneaking on there at the bottom. Taysom Hill up there, like we said, starting Shepard. Dearness Johnson, another one of these running backs who looks really good, but just doesn't. He's in the worst case of everyone. I think he's got 2, top class running backs behind him, but he's a good player. And you got AJ Green there as well, one of your Arizona guys, along with my guy Tim Patrick still sitting there too. So is anyone standing out for you there?
Not really. I touched upon James White. He's a guy that could maybe offer a little bit of upside in PPR leagues, just being that pass catching running back. Well, quickly, do you mind just flying through all the positions again? We'll just ignore quarterback again, as I say. There's no. Just look at the guys there: Taysom Hill, Gardner Minshew, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tyler Huntley. Sorry, is a guy that if anything were to happen to Lamar Jackson, he kind of showed up, but. No, there's nothing that stands out there. They're the guys that will be on your waivers, and as soon as anything happens to the starter, they're the guys that get the fab budget unloaded on them. So
absolutely.
There's no need, I don't think, for me to do that with the 3 quarterbacks that I've got. So we'll look at the running backs.
Let's have a little look at running back there as well, and sort of Keyshawn Vaughn. So Marlon Mack, interesting as well. Obviously, just went over to the Texans.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting one, seeing him go to the Texans again. What they do in the draft could determine his value, but he looked pretty solid coming back. And another guy that's coming back from that Achilles injury. I think that's people were pinning the hopes on Cam Akers, just seeing what Marlon Mack did, came back, looked pretty good when he come back from that injury. So it was good to see him come back and moving now to a potential opportunity over at the Texans. But feels like a guy that could just lose all value if anything were to happen in the draft and the Texans take a running back. And I think he is a good player. I think he's replaceable. I think that they could maybe take a day 2 running back, maybe even an early day 3 running back, and he could compete with Marlon Mack for that starting position. So now I think we'll take a look at wide receiver.
So receiver, you got Shepard and Rodgers, who we talked about earlier. Cole Beasley. It says Buffalo there. I don't think he's still at Buffalo. I think he's
no, they let him go, didn't they? They released him.
Free agent. Did he sign anywhere else? I don't think he signed anywhere else.
I've not seen him sign anywhere now.
No, along with Darius Slayton there as well, as some people who's sort of creeping down towards the bottom there. Quintus Cephas and Donovan Peoples-Jones as well sitting there.
A guy that, out of those that I can see, a guy that's maybe standing out, Alan Lazard, just because of the movement over at the Packers at the moment. I think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 as it stands now. Again, I feel like a bit of a broken record, but you feel like the Packers, they've got to take at least one wide receiver early, if not too early on in the NFL draft. So that could all change. But we know that the connection that Rodgers and Lazard have had, and he's looked good in flashes. So that could potentially be a guy if I'm just looking for that short-term investment. If we just scroll down a little bit, Mags, I've got somebody in mind that I'm thinking could be there, and he's a guy that I quite like. Yeah, I can see him there, and it's KJ Hamler. You just spoke about Tim Patrick being your guy. Well, KJ Hamler, he's kind of my guy in terms of somebody that, when given the opportunity, I think he can really thrive. A guy that I really liked as a rookie. Came in, I think it was round 2. He was selected by the Broncos, but just shoved down that depth chart. We know that the quality that they've got up there in terms of Judy and Sutton, and now maybe there's a bit of an opening. Noah Fant moving, feel like that elite pass catcher's gone, but Alberto's gonna step in. But yeah, I feel like KJ Hamler could be a really interesting sleeper potentially. This could be one of those you spoke about. You look at this in a year's time and think, oh, I can't believe I got him that late on. For me, KJ Hamler's kind of that guy. I'm thinking with Russell Wilson going there, you make comparisons, don't you, to what he did over at Seattle, and you think of the success that he had with Tyler Lockett. If you're going to make a comparable between Tyler Lockett and a wide receiver over there, it's KJ Hamler for me. And he's just somebody that I've really liked. Obviously dealt with injuries, and that is the concern, that he's struggled with injuries ever since entering the NFL. Knee injuries, I believe, which are always tough to overcome. But I mean, I've picked him up now. I feel like I've kind of got to take him. I feel like this is my Hail Mary, Mags, of when I pick him and we come back and you bring me on next year. I'm assuming that I'll be back on next year. And
absolutely.
And I can bask in the glory of taking KJ Hamler so late and him seeing a spike in value. But yeah, I think I'm going to take a shot at KJ Hamler here for the reasons that I just touched upon.
Yeah, I like it. We're taking KJ Hamler in the 16th this year, and next year we're taking him in the 6th. He's gonna rock it up in value.
He's gonna be the top wide receiver over at the Broncos. You heard it here first. No, I just think when you get to this stage, you can throw ADP out the window. I mean, we're just taking shots now and touching back on what we said at the start. Get your guys, if there's guys that you like, especially at this stage. I mean, it's a free shot, so why not go for the guys that you like? And so we've got 2 picks left. Is that right? We've got 2 rounds left. So
yep, this is penultimate pick. So yeah, round number 17, and there's still a couple of guys there. Obviously, you were speaking about earlier, like Alan Lazard is still there. Yeah, he is still sitting there along with some other guys too. Yeah,
I feel like I could potentially be cheating here, but Alberto still on the board, and we saw this. We know that now that Noah Fant's moved on, there's an opening there for him. So yeah, I think I'm going to take Alberto. It could be cheating. Maybe he goes a little bit earlier in start draft now, but yeah, Alberto's the guy that I'm going to pick here.
Let's get Alberto. You've passed on a few people. You passed on Deshaun Watson. You passed on Tom Brady.
Yeah, you can give me this one if it's a bit of a cheat. You can.
Yeah, let's give you Alberto for sure. And,
I mean, I'm really happy now with the 3 tight ends that I've got, because that's a guy that I probably would have taken as my tight end too. So
yeah.
And I mean, just seeing Tyler Higbee's gone, Austin Hooper was below him in ADP, so he would have gone before he got to my next pick. So
yeah,
happy to have grabbed him there. Brevin Jordan, just gone, a guy that I spoke about a little earlier. He's probably the one that I would have picked if I was going for a young tight end. But don't need to worry about tight ends now. I've got 3 tight ends. Sticking true to feel like I'm loading up a little bit on tight ends, getting 3. Happy with the tight ends.
I do the same. And here we are.
If there were more
Our
rounds,
last pick.
I'd be picking some more tight ends if we had a few more rounds to go, Mike's had.
Yeah. I'd be doing like the Rich Cooley sort of instead of running backs.
Yeah, but with tight
like tight end.
Yeah. So
speaking of tight ends, we got Tyler Conklin sitting up at the top there, but the New York Jets player, Marlon Mack, who we just talked about, is still there. You know, and Antonio Brown still there.
That's another potential one if he comes back yet again. It feels like we talk about it every off season, but I mean, if he's playing somewhere, the guy puts up fantasy points. Whatever you think about him as a person and what he does, he can play football and he can give you fantasy points. So that's a potential dart throw late on in your draft. I mean, last pick. I mean, if we're talking about talent, I mean, he's probably the most talented guy that you can see on that draft board.
Yeah, absolutely.
But before we finish, I'll just take a quick look at my entire roster, just so
Good idea.
One last bask in the glory before I take my last pick, and then you can again rub my ego when we've finished and tell me how great it is.
That sounds perfect. So
I need to make the most of this, mate.
So we got our 3 quarterbacks, and then we got 5 running backs.
Yeah.
We've got 6 wide receivers and 3 tight ends. So really, really balanced. You've got no sort of deficiency in any position there. So
so
we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think we can go for anybody that we fancy here, and I think I'm gonna stick with the Richard Cooling tactic, and I think now I'm just gonna take a shot at running back. It's the position that fluctuates the most. So we'll just take a look at the running backs and see if there's anybody that's standing out. Darrington Evans, I know when Kev came on, he mentioned him, and he's a guy that I really liked as a bit of a sleeper as a rookie. Seeing that he's gone there to the Bears, didn't even know that he'd gone to the Bears, but
who's there as well? Jeff Wilson.
So that could be potential there behind.
Yeah.
Jamal Williams is another guy. If anything were to happen to DeAndre Swift, he's a guy that can fill in and be that workhorse back if needed over in Detroit. So I mean, it's nothing. Again, it's not the most exciting bunch of players to look at, but
Jamal Williams even split the field a bit with Swift.
Yeah, exactly.
A piece of last season.
While they might not offer a great deal, I mean, if he's seeing touches, you've at least got somebody getting you some fantasy points. If worst comes to the worst, and you just need some points, and you're in a bit of a crunch in terms of injuries and stuff, at least you know he's getting snaps. And at this stage of the draft, there's not many guys that stand out there. I'll just take a quick look at wide receiver, Mags. I know it's like the last pick. This is not the most crucial pick I'm ever going to make in this draft, but you never know. There could be another potential Hail Mary that could make me look like an absolute genius. So
yeah, absolutely. So you got sitting there to see his name pop up, and I was like, Cedric Wilson is there, who obviously Miami have signed, and probably not signed him for no. You imagine he'd be at best wide receiver 3 there, but he's looked pretty good in flashes at the Cowboys, and Donovan Peoples-Jones sitting up at the top, as well as some people we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I mean, there's some young guys here that we haven't seen the true ability they've got. Dwayne Eskridge is a guy that didn't play a great deal as a rookie. Tutu Atwell, he's not somebody I'm super excited about, but I mean, both those guys got great draft capital. I think they were both round 2 picks, maybe
quite high,
round 3 maybe. So
both
quite early. And Keel Harry's a guy that I remember. This is a guy that, I mean, I'm going to expose myself yet again here, but when he came in as a rookie, I was happy to take him as my 101 in my rookie drafts, passing up on some awesome players like DK Metcalf, Josh Jacobs, who obviously have excelled, and I've been left with N'Keal Harry, but he's a guy that could maybe change the scenery. Obviously the Patriots have brought in some wide receivers now. It feels like he's going to be on his way out. Maybe that change of scenery can unlock something with N'Keal Harry. You can tell I'm clutching at straws here, Mags. I'm hoping that I can redeem myself for picking him at the 101 in my rookie drafts. I'm praying for some kind of late breakout as an NFL player.
And the more you get to know N'Keal Harry, as a person, the more you're like, well, why did Bill Belichick ever did they not talk to him before they drafted him? Was that like how?
Yeah, I mean,
that was never going to work.
In round 1 was crazy. Even though I quite liked him as as a prospect. I mean, round one was something that I don't think anybody expected. And yeah, hindsight's a great thing, knowing now what we've seen from guys like, as I say, DK Metcalf. But no, I think I'll go running back. I think there was a guy that I saw there that could potentially be that I spoke about. Jamal Williams, I think I'm just going to take shot at him. Nothing spectacular, nothing great, but as I say, just that guy that if anything were to happen to DeAndre Swift, he's a guy that can slot in. He's shown he can do it both in the passing and the running game. When he was over at the Packers and in spells at Detroit when Swift did go down. So yeah, just taking that shot on a guy that could see a bump in production if anything were to happen to the actual starter over there, and yeah, round it off with a running back.
Love it. Jamal Williams is locked in as our final pick. And I always like to see who the last guy was. Tyler Conklin and Marlon Mack, the last guy
Marlon Mack,
the board. Yeah. So let's have a look then. This is the time where we talked about it. I pat you on the back and we...
That's it. Come on, this is what
we have a look. Right, this is it. So you've got Justin Herbert as your first pick. You can't do much better than that. Then you've got, you're liking the Justins, actually, to see. Justin Herbert and Justin Fields. And then Derek Carr. I mean, that's as good as it gets at quarterback for, you got your great mix of, elite, potential elite and, safe. Like that is brilliant, I think, at quarterback. And then, you got your running back room. You got Travis Etienne. You got Cam Akers. You got the one and only Michael Carter. You got Raheem Mostert, Gus Edwards, and Jamal Williams. So, a lot of potential there with Mostert and Edwards and Williams too. If anyone misses time, they're going to be really safe to slot into your lineup. You got your wide receivers who, you were worried about at the start, but I think you've done really well here with, Michael Thomas and Brandon Cooks, Juju coming in there, as well as, Christian Kirk, Will Fuller, and KJ Hamler, your guy. And then, 3 excellent tight ends with Pitts and Everett and Alberto. That's an absolute killer team.
Yeah.
You must be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, quite happy on the whole. I think got a nice balance there of younger guys. As I said at the start, the wide receivers, I kind of forced myself into taking the more older guys, but I feel like they're guys that have they've kind of been slept on a little bit, lost a bit of value over the last couple of years. I mean, Brandon Cooks, I don't know why Brandon Cooks goes so late, because as you mentioned, all he does is produce. But I feel like I've got those solid older guys, and then throwing in a few younger guys a bit later on, Juju Smith-Schuster, young in age, and yeah, on the whole, pretty happy. Maybe if I was going to make any critique, it's the running backs is a little bit hit and miss. I mean, I've got Travis Etienne and Cam Akers, 2 young guys, but both guys coming off injuries. There's a little bit of risk there, and even Michael Carter had a few injuries towards the back end of last year. Mostert coming off an injury. In fact, I've just clocked on, Mags, that I've basically taken every running back that was injured last year. I've just gone for, I think we've got a team name for this one, Mags. It should be something like IR running backs or something, because
injured reserve, yeah.
I mean, I've definitely taken advantage of any value I can get in terms of people fading injured players, because I didn't clock on at the time, but I've gone for all the injured guys from last year. So yeah, hoping for big bounce backs. I'm going to get in touch with some people that know the medical stuff, and hopefully they can give me a bit of hope about these running backs.
And I mean, if you want to get in contact with anyone on medical stuff, you got Will Fuller at wide receiver there. He might be able to let you know.
He definitely knows the guys. No, on the whole, pretty happy with it, and yeah, maybe it can be enough to get me on that lovely board behind you, Mags, and get me on that.
I was just about to bring that up as well. So if you are listening and you're a big fan of Matt, and why wouldn't you be, then make sure you're if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify or anywhere else, see if you can head over to the YouTube channel and give this video a nice thumbs up. The more thumbs up that Matt gets, the higher up the Hall of Flame he will go. Let's see if we can get him into the top 3 or higher. So all it is just that little thumbs up. While you're at it, why not hit that subscribe button as well? We're doing amazingly with the subscriptions. I'm absolutely blown away with how far that this has come in such a short space of time. So just wanted to say one more time before we wrap up here, Matt, thank you so much for coming on and giving some brilliant hints and tips and drafting this amazing team here. And yeah, just a reminder, you can find him at Matt FF Dynasty on Twitter, and go and check out the Fantasy Wildcard while you're at that too. So Matt, thank you once again for coming on.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Mags. I told you before we started recording, I've been waiting for you to come and ask me to come on. It's all I can think about for the past couple of weeks, and now we're here. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, let's be honest, it's all about beating Kevin when you get Ali on in the coming weeks. It's about beating both those guys. That's all I really care about. Get me higher on that Hall of Flame leaderboard. That's my end goal in all of this. But no, in all seriousness, it's been a lot of fun, Mags, and yeah, you're smashing it with this show. And if people listening and watching, if they can subscribe to your podcast and YouTube, then yeah, I highly recommend it. It's one of my most favorite dynasty shows at the moment.
Lovely, mate. Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks again for everyone listening at home. And just remind you, even though the hot seat is cooling off now for another little week, just reminding everyone to keep themselves and their team split. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Yes.